Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. Oh, this is my favorite time of year right here, man. Free agency. We get to find out which general managers, which front office guys know what they're doing and which don't. And if we find this out later on in the year, when you see these teams advancing in the playoffs because they added a dirty work guy like PJ Tucker going to Miami, or shoring up your point guard like the Utah Jazz did with Mike Conley. We get to find out who knows what they're doing and who doesn't. And we're going to find out really fast. So we'll start with the Utah Jazz, with them shoring up their point guard position with Mike Conley. I don't mind the money because Mike Conley is still in his prime. Mike Conley's had some injury issues in the past, but he's necessary for what they're doing because what he does is he takes the pressure off Donovan Mitchell to be a playmaker and to be a primary ball handler. And Mike Conley can score. Utah's they have their cornerstones in Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. And now they bring back Mike Conley, who's essentially their primary playmaker, who can stretch the defense as a long ball shooter. And he gives them exactly what they need at that position. I don't know. I think that series against the Clippers is different if he's healthy. I don't know if they beat them. I'm not sure if they beat them, but I think that series is a lot different. It goes a lot differently if he's healthy. So now, if he can hold up, I think, because I don't think Utah's that far away. I don't think that they're that far away from competing for the NBA championship. I don't. But if he can hold up, I think they'll be right in the middle of it. I'm not sure because, like we just talked about a little while ago, we get to find out what front offices know what they're doing. Cleveland is a mystery to me because they seem to know what they're doing, but then they waver. So we signed Jared Allen to a long-term contract, which is great, because now I have a rim protector and I got a rebounder. And then we bring Mobley into the fold. So now I got a four-man, because he's going to play the four. Now I got a four-man who can score. And Jared Allen can focus primarily on being a rim protector and a rebounder. He can focus primarily on that. But then we still got the issue of Sexton and Garland. We're not really sure what we're doing with these guys. 1 minute Sexton is your point guard, and then the next we're moving him to the two, which doesn't seem like a good idea at all. So there's still a mystery, and they still have to deal with the Kevin Love contract, which, Kevin Love is on the books over the next 2 years for over $30 million per season, and they've had a difficult time unloading his contract. I like what the Knicks did bringing back Nerlens Noel. I like what they did bringing back Alec Burks, because despite what you see with guys like Kevin Durant, guys like Damian Lillard, guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, your stars. You need your dirty work guys. Who's diving for loose balls? Who's playing defense? Who's in the huddle telling Kevin Durant, or who's in the huddle telling Devin Booker, can you score the rest of the points? Don't worry about 12. I'll deal with him. I'll handle him. You just score the rest of the points. I'll take care of him. Who's doing that? So, bringing back Alec Burks as a long ball shooter, bringing back Nerlens Noel as a rim protector, and shoring up Derrick Rose, bringing him back. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal for the Knicks. Plus with the development of R.J. Barrett, which I was happy that the Knicks didn't do anything to screw up his development. So I don't want to bring in anybody that's going to play or that's going to hamper his development. And I was happy to see that. So that was big. The Miami Heat Pat Riley is one of those guys. He reminds me of Well, he comes from the Lakers. He comes from the Lakers, and his motto and his attitude is very much like the Lakers, where, why do we suck? We're the Los Angeles Lakers. We should not suck. Well, Riles has brought that mentality to the Miami Heat. We're the Miami Heat. We shouldn't suck. Which is why he went out and got Kyle Lowry. Which is why he shored up. Which is why he went out and got P.J. Brown. Not P.J. Brown, P.J. Tucker. I'm sorry. P.J. Tucker. Which is why he extended Jimmy Butler. Because they're probably gonna move off of Dragic. They're gonna move off of him. And which is why he shored up Duncan Robinson. Because the idea is to compete for the NBA championship. We're not just making the playoffs here in South Beach. Is the mentality with Pat Riley. We're not just making the playoffs. We're trying to compete for the NBA championship. That's the idea. So that's a first-class organization, and they know absolutely what they're doing. I was happy to see what Phoenix did with shoring up Cameron Payne, and I wasn't particularly happy about losing Torrey Craig. All right, that was a little much because, as a wing defender, I think that he was really good, but I understand it because, Cam Johnson, I think, is better than him, and he can shoot the long ball, and he's still on his Rook deal. So I think they're good in that department. Signing Chris Paul to that extension, I think, was thank you money. Because the Western Conference is going to be a lot better next year. They're going to be a lot better. Utah is going to be back. The Lakers are going to be back. With the Clippers losing Leonard, they're going to take a step backwards. But the Western Conference as a whole next season is going to be better. So I don't know if Phoenix will be back in the finals. And if they're not, that contract was thank you money to Chris Paul for what he had done for them. Because remember, the Phoenix Suns 2 years ago, they was in last place they were in last place in the Western Conference. So, like I said, the Western Conference is going to be a lot better next year. Dallas bringing back Tim Hardaway, I did like that. I'm a big Tim Hardaway fan. I love what he does. He's one of the better D&3 guys in the league. And it didn't cost them. I think that was a fair contract. 4 years for $72. I absolutely think that was a fair contract. What the Bulls did was they showed that we're serious about getting back on track. With signing Lonzo. Now you have Vucevic. Vujicic, Lonzo, and now Zach LaVine. I like what they're doing in Chicago. Bringing him back into the fold. Now you got a primary ball handler and a playmaker in Chicago who can do a lot for what you guys are doing. And they just missed the playoffs last year. I think Lonzo at some point, I think he's going to be an all-league defender, and I think that he can be an all-star. Maybe even an all-NBA player. And I think that they got a good deal with bringing him in. And then you got a lot of guys that I was surprised to see ended up in other places. So I was surprised that Milwaukee let P.J. Tucker walk out the door. And specifically to Miami. 2 years at $15 million. And I know that when you're talking about a small market team like Milwaukee, things can get expensive and they can get expensive fast. But I don't know if we could lose P.J. Tucker to the Miami Heat. We could lose him to Oklahoma City. We could lose him to Toronto. I don't know if we could lose him to the Miami Heat because they're going to be in the middle of it next season. They're going to be right in the middle of it next season. And I was surprised about that. The Lakers look like they just getting the band back together. That's what they getting Trevor Ariza back, getting Dwight Howard back. Getting the long ball shooter in Wayne Ellington, who can defeat. He's another D&3 guy, which they make life so much. James and Westbrook, they make life so much easier for him as a long ball shooter because they're going to cause so many problems on the perimeter that Wayne Ellington is going to get a lot of shots. A lot of shots. So like I said, losing PJ Tucker, Brooklyn losing Jeff Green to Denver, that was big. So I'm really interested to see how this whole thing turns out. I'm going live tonight, so we can talk about this a little bit more. But for right now, it's good to talk to you guys. Take it light, but take it.